Good evening. Welcome to the September 12th, 2022 Selectmen's Meeting. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Public announcements. Mr. Haggerty.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I've got two quick public announcements.
Quick?
Well, second one's probably not so quick. But the first one, I do want to extend a much appreciation to Richard Hanna and the Griffin's Dairy Farm Committee for putting on the movie nights over here at Riley Field for kids and stuff, and to the Lions Club for providing the snack shack and everything. It was so great, and to see so many families get out and watch a movie out underneath the stars, and also a huge applause to the DPW for helping with the screen, and also the senior center, Suzanne DeJustberg, for supplying the screen, and excuse me, the DPW supplying the sound. Perfect. So that was my first quick announcement. The second one, the month of September has been recognized by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services since 1989 as the National Recovery Month. The observance is held to spread awareness of the challenges people face with substance addiction, efforts to promote and support new evidence-based treatment and recovery practices available to save lives. Addiction does not discriminate. Substance addiction is a struggle too many families encounter. That's why organizations like the Plymouth County Outreach and Abington's own Abington Copes are working compassionately and judgment-free to make treatment, resources, and harm reduction tools more accessible to those living with substance use disorder and their loved ones, as well as providing education to our youth. Community outreach, prevention, education, and support are Abington Cope's mission. If you or someone you love is battling with addiction and seeks help, please go to the PlymouthCountyOutreach.org for resources for treatment services, stabilization services, transitional support services, medication for opioid use disorder, outpatient programs, and grief resources. People can also message the Outreach Facebook page or call 508-803-4218, extension 261. As a reminder, Abington Copes is hosting a 5K road race on Saturday, September 18th. Sunday, September 18th, beginning at 9 a.m. The race starts and ends at Woodsdale Elementary School. All proceeds go towards funding efforts to prevent and reduce youth substance use, as well as provide resources and support for those struggling with substance use alongside their families. They'll have food trucks and a DJ. I promise I won't do karaoke, and bouncy houses. Together, we can achieve anything. Hopefully, look forward to see you all at the road race on September 18th. Mr. Chairman, that's all I have for announcements.
Thank you, Mr. Haggerty. Kevin?
I have nothing.
Tim?
No, sir.
Mike?
Nothing.
All right, and I have nothing. So before we get into public comment, I want to introduce our Fire Chief, Chief Nuttall.
Good evening, thank you. So we'd like to take over your meeting quickly at the beginning of this again tonight to recognize a large number of people that were involved in a very important incident last month. And since I was not in the state during this incident, I actually want to turn this entire thing over to the Deputy Fire Chief, Jack Lynn, who has organized tonight's event for you. Deputy?
Good evening, and thank you for your time tonight.
In our line of work, we don't always get a chance to report on something really special when things come together and works out. And this was a really unique event, so I want to take you through it a little bit. August 15th, it was approximately 2:30 in the afternoon. We got the call that anybody that's a parent or just has kids doesn't want to hear. We got a call for a 2-year-old that was pulled from the bottom of a swimming pool. Initially, your stomach tightens up and you have the same reaction we all do. We want to get there as soon as possible. There was a unique chain of events that brought us to tonight. I will tell you that it was a 2-year-old boy. He's doing great. He's running around. He was home 2 weeks later. And his family, because of it being the most difficult day, as you can imagine, they didn't want to be here tonight to kind of relive it, but they're so grateful for everybody that was involved. I'd love to take you through that if I could. So we received a call at 2:30, a child pulled from the bottom of a swimming pool. They called 911. Immediately, our dispatchers, it was dispatcher supervisor Chelsea Fourier. I hope I apologize, Chelsea, I hope I pronounced that right. She took the call. While that call's going on, she's starting to give CPR directions. There's a variety of other dispatchers that were handling the police calls for that, and they were doing a multiple, variety of things to try to get things going, getting us there, having us respond. That's the initial reaction that we immediately want to get there to the scene. The key component, and we call it the chain of survival, the key component in this is someone taking action. And a bystander, a 19-year-old bystander, Savannah Mendez Rodriguez, she was in the house when the little boy got pulled from the pool. She's a dental student, dental hygienist, is it?
Dental student.
Close enough, I did well. She immediately did what so many people are hesitant to do. She jumped in and she got involved. She immediately started CPR on this little boy. That gave us a chance, and she made a difference. So at this time, we'd like to, with Representative Sullivan and the chief come on up. We have something for her, and then we're going to continue if we could. So Savannah, if you can come on up with us. She's joined by family members, her sister and her mom. It says, a certificate of merit presented to Savannah Mendez Rodriguez in recognition of your actions that directly played a role in the successful rescue and resuscitation of a child drowning victim on August 15, 2002.
Thank you, Deputy.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Savannah, wow, great job. Allison
Thank you.
Sullivan.
It's nice meeting
It
you.
is, no, it's an honor to meet you. I don't know too many paramedics or firefighters that could say at your age they'd be able to do what you did. And I know you did with the assistance of the men and women behind you, but your actions truly saved the life of another human being, a little boy. And I don't know if you knew him or didn't know him, but you were, from what I'm being told, went right to action, and you held it like a grown firefighter paramedic. So maybe dental hygienist, if it doesn't, go that way, I think Abington would be proud to have you. So I do have a citation from the House of Representatives, and these are citations we like to give out when there's moments like this. Be it hereby known to all that the Massachusetts House of Representatives offers its sincere congratulations to Savannah Mendez Rodriguez in recognition of your heroic actions that saved the life of a 2-year-old boy. The entire membership extends its very best wishes and expresses the hope for future good fortune and continued success in all your endeavors. Given this 12th day of September 2022 at the State House of Boston, signed by the Speaker of the House and also by myself, Allison Sullivan, we just want to say great job, and hopefully there'll others like you that will get certified and trained and be able to, hopefully, if needed, save the life of another child.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
So next we want to, from this point forward, we kind of go with a team aspect. So we wanted to recognize and we wanted to point out Holbrook Communications. It's our dispatch center, and they fall under the radar a lot of times in what we do. They're the people that, they get us to where we need to, they get us the information we need to, they deal with the most stressful situations to pass on to us. And then a lot of times what happens is we take over the call, they don't hear anything again. So I know we all try to make an effort to kind of keep in communication with them. They're a great team. So at this point, I'd like to call up all as a team. You have Chelsea Faria. I hope I'm am I pronouncing that right, Chelsea? She was the call taker supervisor. We have Kelly Donovan, Joseph Tassone, Brian Kerins. I don't think Brian was able to make it tonight. Al Stewart and John Salmon. So if you could all come up, we have something for you.
Good morning, Fran. Thank you. Yeah, it's not that, no.
You must be John.
I am. Thank you.
If I may read our citation from the House of Representatives, it says all the same, but if I may, be it hereby known to all that the Massachusetts House of Representatives offers sincere congratulations to you three and your team in recognition of your leadership as a call taker supervisor that led to the saving of the life of a 2-year-old boy. The entire membership extends its very best wishes and expresses the hope for future good fortune and continued success in all your endeavors. Given this 12th day of September 2022 at the State House of Boston, signed by the Speaker, also myself, Allison Sullivan, we really wanted to say thank you because you guys are the guys behind the scenes and that really help the guys and ladies that are here, and then also our community as well. So we want to say thank you.
The next part of our team aspect is our responding crews. It was a variety of things going on that day, and when the call came in, it happened that there was a group meeting actually going on at Station 1. So normally we'd have an ambulance at Station 2 at the other end of town, ambulance and an engine at Station 1. We happen to have all three at headquarters. They initially responded. We had Captain Driscoll, who responded off-duty and joined the crews there. Something unique that I wanted to explain, that the first ambulance that was there were our 2 newest firefighter paramedics. Talk about trial under fire. Mike Concannon and Andrew Macedo. Andrew was actually in the fire academy right now, so he hadn't even gone through the academy yet when he did this. So he did an incredible job. So I just basically want to read off that. So we had the A2 crew with Mike Concannon, Andrew Macedo, Captain Driscoll responded off duty. They were under the leadership of Captain Fogg in Engine 4 with Anthony Conso, Ken Wright and Sean Hardy in the other ambulance. It's a real chaotic scene, as you guys can imagine, when you get there, with family. Everybody's panicked, worried. There's so many things going on. They handle themselves with the utmost professionalism, and you should be very proud of the people you have in town that are helping you out. So at this point, I'd like to call up everybody. I'll call up Captain Fogg, Anthony Conso, Ken Wright, Sean Hardy, Mike Concannon, Andrew Macedo, and Captain Jared Driscoll, please. Sean. Jared, you got.
I do want to say, I know I could read the citation, but you all kind of heard the gist of my citation so far. And I know you guys do not do the work to get recognized, but it's times like these that I think you deserve recognition. I know you do without every single day, but I know, especially being married to a police officer, when you hear, especially a child not breathing or a child in need, everyone hands on deck. And we saw it with Captain Driscoll where you off duty, right? So I just want to say thank you, and I know the family, I haven't spoken to them, but I bet they're very thankful for you guys and what you do.
Thank you. Finally, last but not least, we work so well with our police department. We're one of the unique towns that a lot of times you have a little bit of good-natured sibling rivalry, we call it. We work terrific with our brothers and sisters in blue. And Sergeant Anton Lynch responded. He was there at the call. And the reason why I'm pointing him out is because he did some of the things that are very difficult that go under the radar. He was with me, he helped take care of the family. They weren't in any condition to drive to the hospital or follow up with this. He drove the family to the hospital to make sure they got there so that they could have the care taken care of. So, Sarge, come on up.
I've had the honor of giving you a citation yet, but I think this one is probably one of the best that I can give you. I know your job is not easy, especially in these times, so we want to thank you on behalf of the whole entire membership for what you did that day. I know you're a father of young children, and so it probably hit near and dear to you, so thank you.
Thank you all for your time. At this time, I'd like to turn it back over to Chief Nuttall.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Deputy. And actually, that was not last but not least, because last but least on this is actually for Deputy Jacqueline, who really managed the overall incident on this beyond the actual call, making sure the family's okay, reaching out to Savannah and everybody. So, Deputy, thank you very much.
And I know the deputy called me earlier this morning and told me not to give him a citation, but as you all know, I sometimes don't listen that well. I know the job's not an easy job, especially leading, and you are a father as well, so I know it hits home, but you deserve recognition as well. Your leadership, especially when the chief was not here, you stepping into that role and really leading these men and women and taking, what you do best. So I do have a citation here from the House in recognition of your service and the life-saving measures of the 2-year-old boy. So,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
If I can ask everybody just to hold for 1 minute, because we do have one final separate presentation. And I got to tell you, it's really good knowing that when I do take the rare occasions to take a vacation, I'm not good at taking vacations, anybody that knows me, I know that we're in excellent hands with the entire department and the leadership of the town. So that's very comforting to know, both as a department head as also as a resident. So switching gears on that event, and again, Savannah, thank you very much from the very beginning and everybody involved on that. Thank you. So there's one other person I'd like to recognize for an entirely different event tonight, and that is actually Representative Allison Sullivan. Scott, if you're able to put those photographs up there. Representative Sullivan, again, was able to come through and assist the Abington Fire Department with some equipment for our department. She was able to secure funding for kind of a unique little vehicle. The way this began, we're used to, we're very proud of the tower truck and some of the large apparatus we have, and now we're kind of going the opposite way into some of the smaller apparatus, which has an entirely different role. Unfortunately, it's difficult to get funding for these because while this is an important item, sometimes it doesn't really get prioritized in a town budget for a number of reasons, which we understand. So a couple of my guys, specifically firefighter Justin Silva, we also had firefighter Kyle Guerrier, I don't think Kyle's here tonight, as well as Captain Cotty. They reached out to me to see, if they could try to pull this off, would I be interested in them trying to secure funding for a small vehicle like this with a trailer? The answer is yes. I'm very proud that they did that. And they reached out to Allison, explained to her the need for this for the town, and I'll explain to you why we need a weird little vehicle like this, as well as a trailer. And she listened to them, and she was able to secure funding on this. Now, the reason we have this little vehicle, it's an all-terrain vehicle. It's larger than the quad that you typically see, like the sport ATVs. It's a glorified golf cart that can go off-road, basically, as well as there's a passenger compartment in the back. So we can get 2 or 3 firefighter medics in this vehicle, send them off deep into the woods. Now, people don't realize just how many wooded areas or remote areas in this town that we have. You know, we're talking, you know, sometimes along the railroad tracks, up by the Naval Air Station, the former Navy base, but a lot of the Edison right-of-ways under the high-tension lines up by the State Park, we have a lot of areas that we cannot get vehicles in there, and once in a while, we'll get either injured hikers, injured bicycle riders, you know, anything like that, and it's incredibly taxing trying to get these people out, especially when they're injured. So this vehicle, we're hoping, is going to be very instrumental in assisting that, ultimately for a better positive outcome for the patient, and it's easier for our people, because we don't want to hurt our people either. We also needed a place to put this, because we have absolutely no room anywhere in the station, so this actually comes with a storage and a transport trailer, so that solved that issue as well. So Allison was able to secure $28,000 for this entire ensemble with the assistance of my in-house firefighters. Right now, it's at the Abington DPW. They're continuing to add some lighting to this so we can get this in service, hopefully this week. This is in addition to, Allison was also able to get us $100,000 a couple of years ago as part of the fire station feasibility study. She's always here, obviously tonight, and she's always a phone call away. She's been very instrumental in helping this department. And again, I just wanted to recognize you for this. We got this funding actually several months ago. And the main reason I didn't really come out publicly then is because of the supply chain. Because it could have been embarrassing if I thanked her then, and then, you know, 2.5 years later when we finally get this. That didn't happen because Justin, to your credit, as well as Captain Cotter, we have some very talented firefighters in getting stuff. I'm not going to, you were able to obtain both of these legally. We purchased them. These are not easy to find. They're not easy to find. They found it. They found the trailer that it fit. We got it all lettered in record time. So now I can finally thank you publicly for this. So thank you very much. And that, Mr. Chairman, is all that we have. Thank you very much.
Thank you all very much. Thank you, Representative Jack, all of you. And Savannah, thank you very much. Take care.
I do want to say, I wouldn't be able to get that funny if it wasn't for Justin. Justin, I think, called me on a number of occasions, day and night, but he advocated the most. So it made my job easy to advocate for the State House. So I want to thank Justin for that.
Yeah.
We thought you wanted to stay for all that. We thought you wanted to stay. Do you have any pictures of it?
No, no video
We should have
tonight.
done, should have shown one of the videos.
Oh, next time.
Okay, next is public comment. We have Michelle Christian from Abington Celebrates.
I'm Michelle Christian. I'm the Public Outreach Coordinator for Abington Celebrates. This is more of a public announcement than a comment. After another successful Founder's Day weekend this past June, we hope everyone will mark their calendars for the upcoming Oktoberfest weekend, which is October 14th through the 16th. On Friday night, October 14th, Abington Celebrates will be debuting a fall trivia night at the Knights of Columbus. This is a fundraiser for the fireworks this year. We are in search of teams of 4 to 8 people, and hopefully this year we can convince the selectmen maybe to form a team and join us that evening. So teams of 4 to 8.
Trivia?
Trivia, you can do it.
I'll join it.
On Saturday, October 15th, that'll be a busy day in Abington. In the morning, the United Church of Christ is once again hosting the Oktoberfest Marketplace with vendors, food, raffles, and the thrift shop will also be open. On Saturday afternoon, the popular Not So Scary Woods, hosted by the Abington Lions, will be again at the Grove with lots of free activities for the children of Abington. Immediately following, Pumpkin Point returns with its carved pumpkin contest, and the Park and Rec will host a movie night. Start your Sunday morning off right on October 16th with a hearty pancake breakfast hosted by Troop 41 Scouts at the American Legion. From there, head on down to Beaverbrook for the first ever Freaky Flea Market hosted by the folks of Blackbeard. Enjoy the afternoon with our annual Oktoberfest family celebration on the grounds of Frollo, Memorial Field, and the American Legion. And just to name a few of the many events at the celebration, there'll be kids' activities sponsored by the Coombs Foundation, the Double Eagle Oktoberfest German Band sponsored by the Abington Summer Concerts, a beer and food garden sponsored by the American Legion. There'll be a new farmers market this year, refreshments and a petting zoo, the dog costume contest and parade sponsored by the Friends of Abington Dog Park. The Abington Health Department is hosting a mobile flu shot clinic this year. The Old Coots will be returning with their sage advice and wisdom. Just remember, it's not necessarily good advice, but it's free advice. Demonstrations such as Taekwondo, dance, and folks from the Plymouth County Sheriff's Department will return. Thank you, Kevin. There'll be raffles and Abington Celebrates merchandise and much more. For updates on Oktoberfest weekend and all of our events, we encourage everyone to follow us on Facebook or email us at abingtoncelebrates@gmail.com. As always, we extend a special thank you to the Abington Fire, Police, DPW, and Health Department, as we couldn't do any of our events without all of you. Thank you, and see everyone in Oktoberfest. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any other public comments on anything on the agenda tonight? All right, seeing none, we'll move right up to Mr. Paul Mollica regarding Presidential Drive.
Thank you. My name is Paul Mollica. I live at 152 Presidential Drive. We're here to talk about like speeding on the street. My wife and I moved in with one of the original owners in 1988, and since then, the street is, as we'll get into in a second, a lot of speeding on Presidential. Interesting, a number of neighbors are here. Some of the young guys in the front are the original owners whose kids have grown up and moved out, and there's a bunch of neighbors that have young kids that are infant and extremely young. So we talked about little kid drowning. We're concerned about little kids getting hit on the street. So I talked to Scott August 1st, who gave me some advice as to how to proceed, and I also talked to Alex the week after to get us on the agenda. So we had a petition signed by 65 of the neighbors. There's 59 houses on Presidential, McKinley and Van Buren. The 65 signatures where most of the people went around, some of us went around like 3 different times. Some people were off, so anyone who was in, which is almost everybody, signed the petition and are concerned about speeding. The history of the subdivision is when it was approved, I originally thought, and I put in your package, that it was approved as Presidential as a dead end and an island going down the middle. That's not the case. I spoke with Paul Spiro, who was one of the 4 partners who put the subdivision in. It was Spiro, McCarthy, McNeil, and Schiavone. Paul Spiro and Rich McCarthy live on Strawberry Lane. And Paul said that, no, that's not true. The zoning requirements at the time were that Presidential had to be 52 feet wide from sidewalk to sidewalk. So it's a sidewalk on both sides of Presidential. The actual asphalt, which makes up the street, is 37 feet wide. The McKinley and Van Buren also have, which is the two streets off of Presidential, also have sidewalks on both sides. Those streets are 26 feet wide. In contrast, Hancock Street, which is extremely busy street, has sidewalks on only one side of the street and is 24 feet wide. So you can see how, and Presidential is a half a mile wide from top to bottom, 37 feet of asphalt It's like the equivalent, or if you see a asphalt paver, it's the paving machine going down 3 times, whereas Hancock Street is like twice, okay? Now, interesting enough, I was driving through Braintree, going up to Braintree Golf Course like a few weeks ago, and on Jefferson Street, which is the street that the golf course is on, there's a temporary speed bump. And you know, as I'm going down Jefferson, you almost come to a stop to slow down. And I spoke with the Braintree Police Department on September 6th, and I spoke with Officer Tim Cahoon, who was the Deputy Police Chief of Operations, and asked him about it. And he said it works extremely effectively. He says where you put this temporary speed bump really is important relative to the length of the street. So if you're going off of Hancock Street in Braintree, that Jefferson is off of, the speed bump is probably like 500 feet down the street. And Jefferson is a real long street. So he says what happens is people slow down and then they speed up. I was talking about Presidential, and he said if you put it like midway down the street, halfway down the street, that would really take care of the speeding issue. He also said it's temporary because during the wintertime, they couldn't put a permanent because of snow plowing and stuff like this. So they pull it up first part of November and put it down like the end of April or something like that. But I was talking to him, and he said what would be even more effective with what they've done in Braintree is they've put like islands on some streets similar to Presidential based on how wide they are. And he says that really effectively slows down the traffic. And just as some facts, there's 27 houses on Presidential, 14 on McKinley, 18 on Van Buren. A number of the houses have in-law apartments. Presidential's a half a mile long. So it's a half a mile, 37 feet wide, et cetera. So, you know, the other thing that come up is the, you know, some recommendations as to, when I talked to Scott, he said, well, you know, think of some recommendations as to what you think would help reduce the speeding on the street. And I think initially, the temporary speed bump would really work out great. Also, some people thought about putting some type of island down part of Presidential. The streets in those 3 streets are paved in 88. It's the original pavement. They're crumbling, they're falling apart. So at some point, I think on the list of streets to be repaved, they have to be up there because they're about ready to turn into the dust. But so it'd be a good time to do that. Other recommendations would be to put a solid line down the street. There's a bus stop on 2 spots on Presidential where McKinley intersects. Put island crosswalk. Yeah, crosswalk, thanks. And also, maybe Rockland Center has bump outs in the center that helps reduce that. So you know, we're looking for some help. I think immediately what we'd like is a temporary speed bump. Other thing is a solar thing that monitors the speed. I think that works pretty effectively.
I think we've talked about that, yeah.
So anyways, that's kind of why we're here. I've come before the selectmen a number of times since '88 with no luck, because at that point there weren't the temporary speed bumps. There was only the regular ones, and the police would come down for a little bit, and you know, some of the comments were that, well, a lot of times some people in the neighborhood actually get speeding tickets because they're going too fast. We don't care. If you're going too fast, you deserve a ticket.
So is it one direction or the other?
It's both. It's
Both.
Yeah. So it's people cutting, you know, just using it as a cut through, you know,
Right.
each way. So, and Sarah, sitting down there, she was out with her kids, which kind of prompted this a little while ago, and she got little kids, and the oldest is probably like 6, 8, youngest is how many? How old? 1. And they're in the playing in the driveway, and some kid's speeding down the street. She waves for him to slow down. The kid actually stops, gets out of the car, and actually, kind of, intimidates her and not quite threaten her, but almost, and that's unacceptable, So we're looking for some help both immediately and maybe a potential permanent
Have
solution.
you spoken to John Stone yet, Scott, about this?
Yeah, actually, right after we had probably first talked.
Yeah.
I have a sort of a public safety group that we meet at least monthly, and it's John Stone, the fire chief, and the police chief, myself. We get together and we try to review issues like this that came up. And one of the things that had already been talked about in that area is using grant money to enhance almost all of the crosswalks on Hancock. Certainly, there were some right in that area of the intersection of Presidential. We wanted to put up some new clearer, brighter signage, clean up around the trees, restripe, and also, we'd be happy, obviously, we had just talked after your letter came in about doing some in the area that you talked about. Putting a stripe down the middle is fairly easy to do also. And we're looking at grant money. We've already purchased for Hancock in that area, one of those speed limit signs that flash when you're going too fast. Certainly, we can look into getting another one for your area. But we've discussed it. We've asked to ramp up the traffic enforcement. Speed bumps are difficult. It's a difficult subject. But, again, I'll meet with that group again, see what they think. Certainly reach out to Braintree. And it'd be interesting to see. I think we have someone who
The police
knows.
chief might have some input on that, too.
I was going to say, Scott, just to jump in, we had the police chief in, and I actually brought it up with him at another meeting prior, if you look back, because they have them all over Braintree. Stores Ave is another area where they have them. They have signage there as well. They have them in a couple, Common Street this is where they narrowed the street with parking spaces, like you were saying. I mean, cars still fly down there, unfortunately. But on Orange Street, again, a big cut-through street where I live, and it's the same problem over and over again. Police have been there. They've put the speed limit sign out. We've asked for one on the telephone pole there, something that's flashing, nothing. They've conducted radar. What they did do recently is they did put a line down the middle of the street. That's at least, it temporarily slowed people down, and it got people on a road kind of like yours that's very wide. It got people into a lane. So that helped out a lot, and a lot of the neighbors like that. So that would be something, definitely. But we should also maybe look at striping, if John can do it, is almost like a breakdown lane on each side. If that road is that wide.
Maybe a bike.
Well, that
lane
was-
on each
Do
side,
breakdown lanes, like a white line.
Yeah.
But
your suggestions, that's the one that's gonna.
One of the
like,
things that we were
biggest
looking
problem
at
that
was
I was going to say is that
path
we
to
had,
it means
I had
no-
radar ran, like I said, on Orange Street, and all the feedback, all the cars were doing the speed limit. To me, they were flying. To me, my kids almost got hit, but they were all within the speed limit. So
What's the speed limit on
30.
Orange?
So that's a problem, is
Well, the other
like,
thing is maybe reduce the speed limit to
yeah,
25.
and again,
you
and
know?
that's not, I don't think that's necessarily for a specific road. That would have to be more of like a town-wide type thing. if you
And we
did it.
can do that through local option.
We can do 20, right? We can't do 20, or is it 25?
I mean, Kingston just went
We
down
haven't
townwide
adopted that yet.
25. I don't know the parameters behind it,
I
but.
know we had the discussion with residents of Hancock Street before, and we couldn't go from 40 to 30, we had to go to
Right now, the
make an
process,
emergency speed zone.
the process to do it right now would require MassDOT approval, and we looked at that on Hancock. And MassDOT looked at it and said, they did studies and decided, yeah, it just doesn't warrant it. Now, there's two local options that through town meeting, we could, the Chapter 90, I'm not right, maybe Section 18 or something like that, but the local options that if town meeting approved it, then this board could say that any area that's commercial or thickly settled, which would basically be the whole town, is going to be 20 or 25 miles per hour, period, unless otherwise posted. So your minimum speed limit you could set, but again, it would require town meeting accepting that local option.
And then,
How about if we try the temporary speed bump in the interim?
Scott, what's holding us back? being able to implement temporary speed bumps?
We haven't talked about temporary speed bumps yet. I'll be happy to bring it to John Stone and see what he thinks.
Ask him about Orange Street, too, because I'll be right behind him.
That might be what's holding us back, is the
Listen,
E2s, because
We have to put it in every
it's a lot of money.
I was asked, I know a couple of the neighborhoods in town asked about them as well, and they were all told no. I love the idea, it's just I think we're gonna be putting about 95 speed bumps out every spring.
What's the cost of a speed bump?
I don't know, and then, obviously, they get hammered or nailed down into the road, so
Yeah.
there's some sort of,
Oh, the temporary speed bumps are actually nailed in.
yeah, they're nailed around into the,
So as it,
but.
No, I'm not worried about that, but it sounds less temporary all
What
of
I'm
a
saying
sudden.
is but also changing the speed limit, we'd have to do the signage, right? So we'd have to post the signage. Would that come out of our Chapter 90 money? So the money we're doing to repave the roads, we'd have to dig into to pay
Yeah,
for
I
the
mean,
signage?
depending on how many neighborhoods, I think we'd
Okay.
look for grant money also, I mean,
I
as we
hope there's
always
something
do.
out there.
But yeah, there's a cost to everything.
Yeah, I think our opinion is like, if there's no money in the budget for some of these things, let us know what it is, and let's see if we can do a fundraiser, because it's an important issue to us,
Yeah,
you know, so I think like,
mean, I'd love to
you
see
know,
the-
like,
the
something
line
immediate
painted.
is really important, because there's so many young kids on the street, school's back in session, et cetera, and last year, I saw some clown with the school bus stopped, and the things out speed, passed by on the left, you know, I'm thinking, Jesus, thank God
I
there
think
was no
if we
kids
could
sitting in
get,
front of the
I mean,
bus, you know?
obviously, the painting has to be done at a certain temperature, it can't, once it dips low, so, I mean,
Well,
unfortunately, we have
could look
limited time now, so we gotta look into that,
The
some
stripe
crosswalks.
and the
Some
bicycle
crosswalks, right.
path, you know, and then shorten up the lanes, and then look into the,
And they could also
speed
put
bumps.
some slow children or
Yeah.
bus stop paintings on the ground too, you know, with some crosswalks, if we can get those in there.
So like, the question is, if we do those things and it doesn't work, we're coming back.
That didn't
Yes.
sound like a question at all.
No, that was,
can you make this street a dead end?
anybody who wants to speak, you're gonna have to come up and and state your name and then,
Hi, Tom Barlow, 106 Presidential Drive, live a couple doors up from Paul. And I concur with everything he stated about the speeding. One thing I found is that there is a sign that states on Hancock Street that the route to Ames Knoll State Park is down the street. But anybody with a GPS who plugs it in or knows the area knows the quickest way to get there is to take Presidential instead of going down to the end, which is Rockland Street. So we do see a lot of vehicles going down there for that. Not saying that they're speeding or not, but I didn't know if there was a way to make Presidential a dead-end street. There's multiple access, well, not multiple, but there is another access point when you go in to exit out of that neighborhood, which would be Walker.
Is there, the other neighborhood that it came to me with all the people about putting the gate up,
Oh, that's down Crabtree.
Crabtree, that's another one, so, and
Yeah.
I mean, that's been like a fight the whole way.
Oh,
I
yeah.
know.
No,
So-
we've got friends that live down there
Yeah,
too,
so-
and it's a constant. They put up a temporary
Yeah, the chain or
plastic
the-
chain. I think somebody just drove
And like
right
you
through
said,
it.
people drive right through it, it's,
I think, right now, I think what we should do is, let me go back, meet with John Stone, let's see how quickly we can do some of these other changes. I think we can continue to look at it. I think a dead end at the end might be the sort of,
Scott, just so people know, what can we do moving forward right now, before talking about the temporary speed bumps with John Stone and some of the more other things like electronic speed machine or
I
something
think
like
that's
that?
what I was just telling you.
Just to finish up, maybe thinking about making that a dead-end street, a temporary greenery, plantings of some sort, that way that might help transition people going down.
you mean
I'm
at
not
the
sure.
beginning?
I'm just saying as a more cost-effective, not a full-blown. That way, if there's an emergency and for some reason apparatuses need to get through that particular route as opposed to going down Melinda or Rockland Street. I can't imagine why they would have to, but just
Yeah.
just an option. We'd really like
If we
to see
do
this
make it a
come to
dead end, I'd rather
fruition.
make it
and-
permanent and look good.
I mean, we don't want to have to be
You gotta
on
think
the
about the people on
news,
Hancock Street too.
you know,
It's gonna
for
be
a
more
tragedy.
traffic, just push more traffic on Hancock.
Yeah.
I just wanted, while Paul was speaking, I live right across from Paul. Tom Thayer, 143 Presidential. And while Paul was thinking, I live right in the middle there across from Paul. But a couple of things came to mind. I mean, my biggest concern is the kids getting on the bus. And like Paul said, people are heading to work in the morning, the gate goes up, the kids come around the front, and, you know, it's very concerning to me. So a couple of thoughts I had. One is we originally thought about maybe some crosswalks at those 2 points. Wouldn't be expensive. The second item I was just thinking about is I would propose that we move the bus stops maybe if we can't get the other things done. Because when my kids were young, they got the bus on the side of our house, which was I'm on Presidential and McKinley, and the bus stopped there. So at least in my mind, it's a way of getting them out of the main traffic area, because when the bus comes down and that gate flips open, the kids rush across the street. And, you know how it is today, the cell phones, the texting, you're late for work, whatever it is. I agree with Mr. Barlow here. We don't want any tragedies similar to the child who almost died there, but, you know, I see it every day. The other comment I'd like to make quickly is that when you put that sign, the speed sign out, that, I watch it because I'm retired now. I don't study it all day, but when I'm walking the dog and stuff, you know. So, but it works. I mean, there's always the clown, like Paul and I were talking the other day, and some guy rode by about 40 or 35, whatever he's doing. He just give us the finger, you know. But most of the people, you'll watch it, and they'll be going 32, 33, 35, and then they come by and they'll slip right under 29. That's a really thing. Give them a thank you and a smile, and those things I think are effective. But the bus, you know, maybe it can't, there's so many loop streets there. You could go down the side street and pick up the kids like they used to, and then you wouldn't have the bus in the middle of Presidential during rush hour while the kids are all rushing and the parents are all getting them there and so forth. And the reason I think the crosswalks work, just yesterday I witnessed the 2 Barlow girls on their little bikes. They were trying to go across the street. They knew what to do. They stayed there. They were good. But at least 7 or 8 cars went by. No one stopped. No one bothered to stop. They don't have to stop, but at least if there was a crosswalk there, it might give them a little bit of a... So just adding on to Paul's as he was talking there. Okay.
Scott, sorry. No, go ahead.
I'm Sarah Duguay, 179 Presidential, and this is more just of a comment and a question for an option is stop signs where, and this is total, you know, complete street, I don't
Mass
know the
DOT.
protocol, at where Van Buren and McKinley, maybe doing 2 stop signs at the top and at the bottom. And again, one of the neighbors that have young kids across the street from me mentioned it, so I just don't know.
Just from my experience, because I tried getting them on
Okay.
Orange Street, and you got to go through Mass DOT, and they have criteria. There has to be so many accidents within so many months. They have to.
Okay.
There's a whole. It's insane if you look it
Is
up.
it?
To be
Okay.
honest with you, just
I figure I mentioned it just as an
But
option.
I'll
We'll
review
look
that
into all of
option
it.
with the
Yeah.
group.
It can be less expensive to do 2 stops, and at least it gets them to completely stop. And
I think, like
know.
Scott said, if we can talk to John Stone and maybe get the stripe down the middle and the bike path on each side, narrow up the road.
We
get
definitely
some-
do this crosswalks.
Get the crosswalks in there.
Repave it.
Yeah, well, we're not
They'll
go
promising that,
faster.
but-
They'll go faster on that.
Asphalt that was loose, so.
Don't repave it. Leave it.
Yeah,
let it-
they'll go a nice brand new street. They'll go faster.
Yeah. Just one, 2 comments, like to thank all the neighbors in the neighborhood for coming tonight, and you know, with soccer and all kinds of other stuff. The other half are probably on the field
I got
somewhere, yeah.
messages from a few that couldn't make
Yeah.
it tonight,
So,
but
and,
they were all,
So you'll you'll follow back? with me?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yep.
We appreciate
Now,
appreciate
report
the
it back to
consideration
this
and help.
committee, to this board and to you.
Perfect.
But
Okay.
we'll get something done.
Thank you.
All right, thank you all.
You know, Scott and the board, I mean, there's a lot of residents here, and with Crabtree and a few other places, maybe it's good to do like a traffic advisory committee or a traffic committee of town members. Be another good one to do, to look around in towns. Other towns have it, I don't know how many do, but that could be another option.
Yeah, not a bad plan.
If you need members for...
There's plenty right here.
You're not allowed to comment on your own neighborhood if you're on that committee.
That's a great idea.
I'll link you in with like 100 Crabtree people, don't worry.
All right, thank you. Thank you all. All right, why don't we just clean up vote to approve minutes on August 22nd?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from August 7th, 2022.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Okay, now, being past 6:40 PM, we have a request for a new Class 2 license for Orphan Car Garage, 728 Brockton Ave, John Wingo, manager.
I'm here.
Why
Make a
don't you
motion.
come on up?
Make a motion, to open the public hearing.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Thanks for
Okay.
having me.
Why don't you tell us what you're doing? And where is 7?
So I'm
28.
at 728 Brockton Ave, which is on the Anderson installation property across from Walmart. So my unit is between Speedy Oil Change Auto Service and Anderson Fireplace. I actually share the large parking lot with Speedy.
Okay, so it's where
There
the
was a
church
Bay
was.
Coffee, I think, was in there years ago, and there was a church in there for a
Right,
little
okay.
while. And that's the unit that I rent from Eric Anderson. And what it is I'm asking for an 8-car license. It's a specialty, vintage, special interest car hobby of mine that's evolved into a business. I've been doing it since I was a teenager, worked full-time auto dealerships for 35 years. Slowly it grew. I was getting burnt out of the auto dealerships. It grew. That was my true passion. Rented this piece of property from Eric, and in my mind said to myself, when I'm not working full-time and I can devote more time to this, I want to take it to the next level. To take it to the next level, I want to be able to sell vehicles without having to go to the registry and title them and pay tax and wait 8 weeks for a title in my name so I can sell it legally. If I have a dealer's license, I can stamp it on to the next owner legally and without the time and the money on my behalf to get the cars, to be able to be resold. I don't do any repairs on the property. All I'm looking for is 8 spots that are on the maps that you have in front of you. I believe you should each have a copy of them. There's 8 display spots on the outside of the building, along with 5 customer spots and then employee parking in the back, although I'm the only employee at the moment.
So you know the registry will require you to have a repair facility, so I'm assuming that'll be speedy.
Speedy.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, Jerry said he was going to be here tonight, but he couldn't make it. So I can provide the board anything they need in regard to that.
Yeah, we're not going to need that for the registry.
Yeah. And like I said, it's a vintage special interest car. I'm not going to be selling Hyundais and minivans out there with flags flying and, you know, and I have no intention of ever being that. That's why I'm just looking for an 8-car permit. I'm
No wacky
a one-man
inflatable
show.
lawnmower?
No, I was just going to say that. I don't know what those things are called.
My kids love them.
Yeah, there'll be none of that, I
All
promise.
right.
Eric wouldn't allow it anyway. And 98.9%.
Marion won't allow it.
I don't think those are-
98.9% of the business I do is online.
Right.
Most of what I
Bylaw
sell is gonna
against
get on a truck and leave the state anyway. So it's not really a retail, I don't really even need a big retail presence there. It's just a great spot for me, especially with Jerry right next door.
All right, I'll open it up to the audience if anyone's here to speak for or against. Seeing none, back to the board.
And at maximum, at the one time, you could have 17 cars on the property?
Total.
Okay.
Total with, you know, I need to have, obviously, customer parking and employee parking, so yeah. But I would never want to have a 17-car license. It wouldn't make sense anyway. I'm a one-man show. I don't want
got
to
it.
overwhelm myself.
All right, thank you. And we do have communication from the police department, there was no issues, and from the zoning and building commissioner, there was no issues.
Right, and Jack came and did the fire inspection. Actually, Jack that was here tonight did the
Nice.
fire inspection, and that passed with flying colors also. So.
Beautiful.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to grant the Class 2 license to Orphan Car Garage.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you so much.
Thank
I really
you.
Good
appreciate
luck,
it, guys. Do I need to give these, Nancy said I would need to.
Yes, leave them right on the table there, that'll be, yeah.
For the abutters. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What happens next? Do I hear?
Nancy will do the license within the next day or so, and then you file everything with the registry, as you probably already started.
Thank you so much. I
Okay,
appreciate everything.
thank you. Okay, the next is common vic license and entertainment license to change DBA Olay Olay to Teffy's Restaurant and Bar, 800 Brockton Ave, Joe Armstrong. Joe's not here tonight.
Hello, my name is Douglas. I apologize because the Chef John, he can attend the meeting today, so I'm representing Teffy's Restaurant.
I think at the last meeting, we had asked for a couple of inspections, and I think they were all, yeah,
All the inspection is already. The building inspection, the fire department is
right. I
there.
think everyone, no outstanding problem with the Board of Health.
Yeah, the Board of Health was today, but he told, he wanted to do the final inspection a couple minutes before the day we open.
Yeah, we have a notice from him that no outstanding violations. Fire department, police department, building department. We saw an email late today that the building inspector was all set. So, do we have to open this again? No, this continues. so-
Continue, we should reopen it.
Make a motion to reopen.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. And obviously, no one else is here.
Did we have any issues? Did police have any issues?
No.
No,
Last time?
police, fire, Board of Health, that building's all set.
Board of Health, they got the food establishment permit application, correct?
They got everything there. The health inspector, I spoke with him today, he's all set, but we'll do one more inspection when they're actually fully ready, just prior to opening.
But, yeah, just the food establishment, once they get the food and everything in there.
Okay. Yeah, he say it's in a really good shape, so just want to go before we open. So we expect, if you,
Perfect.
we expect open September 23.
All right, great. Any other questions from the board?
Make a motion to close the hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion,
Does this have to be pending that final inspection, or?
I would, yeah.
I think
Mr.
by
Chair-
law, it's pending, you know, I mean,
Pending final,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve, pending the final approval from the Health Department, common, particular, and entertainment licenses, and to change IDBA from Ole Ole Cantina to Teffy's Restaurant and Bar, 800 Brockton Avenue, Joseph Armstrong, manager.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Good luck.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you, guys.
Let us know when you're definitely open, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Okay, the next item is continued discussion on request to increase rates for the zoning board of appeals filing fees. We had asked at the last meeting to do some comparisons, and apparently we've done that.
Part of my review for the zoning board of appeals fees. I spoke to the chairman of the Zoning Board of Appeals, and he did say that the last time that these Zoning Board of Appeals filing fee schedule was updated 5 years ago.
And they did vote to approve these.
Correct.
The zoning board did vote to approve these.
So what's your pleasure, gentlemen?
Well, when comparing the zoning board of appeals fees to neighboring communities, I noticed either we were a little above or about the same for neighboring communities. And I think, this is just my opinion, I think it would be good if we were consistent with towns nearby and communities nearby.
Right. I mean, quick look out of the 7 that we were given, seems like 4 are equal to us or lower, and then 3 are higher. All right, so I mean, are we right in the middle again?
So my thought, for what it's worth, is the zoning board's already voted in favor of this. So since we are right in the middle, I would be inclined to go with these rates.
And I think it's also important to note that when setting fees, although it is easy to look at what other communities are doing to try and set your fees, it's also important that we take into consideration what it, with our processes, what it actually costs to put together a public hearing or to grant a waiver and set our fee according to that. So, again, some of this stuff, it's not like folks aren't shopping around the fees. They're here, they live in the town, and all we're trying to do is make it sort of a user fee, basically to recoup the costs of whatever is associated with the question, or the, you know, whether they're looking for a variance or a special permit or a waiver. What does it take for us to have the administrative functions that go on to put that meeting together? So, and that's going to vary slightly from town to town.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I agree with you. I have the confidence in the Zoning Board of Appeals and their decision for these filing fees changes.
Has the rates gone up that much that we had to go up 100% increase?
Well, if they haven't done them in 5 years, perhaps.
Yeah, no, I'm just wondering, I mean, to double the fee, I mean, it's gone up that much, the cost of holding these things?
Well, just looking at Conservation, me being the liaison to the Conservation Commission, they just updated their fees, and the last time they were updated was 1993. So there were, some of the fees were 200, 300%, but it just to make sure we were consistent with neighboring communities.
And maybe we weren't charging enough 5 years ago also. So although maybe 100% increase, it just made.
I did notice that for the appeals, 200 was lower than a lot of the other communities. Was it Hingham that they were charging, what is it, 400 for an appeal?
Are you recommending that?
Oh, no, Pembroke. Pembroke, $400 for an appeal.
Moral of the story is don't appeal anything in Pembroke.
That is, for the record, that is not the moral of this story.
You said that, not me.
Like,
I mean, I don't like the rate increases like they are, but, I mean, again, I will defer and I will trust that the Zoning Board of Appeals has put this time in and, you know, this is, it needs to be done.
Mr. Chairman, I will make a motion to request to increase rates for Zoning Board of Appeals filing fee schedule as laid out by the Zoning Board of Appeals, June 6, 2022.
second? Anyone? I will second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Just for the record, it was, do
you want to do a roll call?
Tim? Okay. Okay, vote to close warrant for special town meeting.
All right, so you all have a copy of the warrant in front of you. There's 9 articles on here. The first article is to supplement the building department budget. You can see it's to raise and appropriate an additional $35,000 for building department salaries and $23,000 for building department expenses. The salaries were for additional cost of the building commissioner. We went without a building commissioner for a year. We hadn't set a number or a salary until, we had already set the budget before we had hired someone, and we found that, the going rate, what the going rate was, and we needed more. The building department expenses are, we had not accounted for. We had gotten the software, the online permitting software through the state, and we got it with COVID money. And what we had not picked up was that licensing fee. So this will cover the cost of that licensing fee.
What is the licensing fee per year?
I'm not sure, but it's probably somewhere in the $20,000 range.
Really?
Yeah. The enterprise appropriation revision is the way, this doesn't change anything on what we did, or excuse me, on the amount of money or anything. Nothing's coming out of our budget. We had appropriated $373,000. As you know, the money that comes in through cable to the town goes right out to Abington Cable Access, and they submit a budget every year. There was a retained earnings in the previous year that we didn't specify that money was coming out of the retained earnings. So basically, it's just a housekeeping thing on specifying where that $91,400 was coming from. We had just approved it as $373,900. When we should have done was read it as $282,500 from anticipated revenues and $91,400 out of their retained earnings. So again, it doesn't change that amount that we had approved. It just says where it was coming from. The account consolidation is to see if if the town will allow us to change. We have line items for gas and postage and different things throughout each department, and what we would like to do, it's just a sort of an accounting nightmare. We would want to put that all under one fund, and then each department we would charge to as we need it. But at least it would just consolidate it. Won't change the amounts. We would take $100. If I have $100 of postage in a line item in my budget now, it'll just come out of that budget and go into a different line item. And that'll be just one consolidated one. Finance director feels that this will make things a little easier for them. The sewer force main, I believe that's coming off, but this was to see, again, engineering costs. This was the final portion of the engineering bill for that project. It rolled over into another fiscal year, but I do believe that this is something that will be coming off that was already taken care of. But I didn't want to take it off until I'm sure. Article 5, community preservation. This is the 0 Orchard Lane that I think you guys are all signed off on that P&S. This is a great little piece of property, connects Rockland Street all the way across through right behind Town Hall here, all the way over to the school facility, creates a really nice campus and a lot of opportunities for trails. We still need CPC to get together on this. They met with us in the past, and they were in favor of it, so they still have to vote to appropriate the money. Payment of prior year bill, there's a Gov Connection, which is a support vendor that the IT department uses. There's a outstanding invoice that was found for $400 that we have to take care of. Transfer of land to conservation, I think you guys recall, we have discussed these properties quite a bit. You've approved it, Conservation's approved it, Open Space has recommended it. I think you recall I had a nice map with an outline on it to kind of show you where all this stuff was. That's what this is. This is the final step in that process to approve these and place the conservation restriction on them, so these could be used for hiking trails and stuff like that. Collective bargaining's on here. We're hoping to have a number for this for fire and DPW by the end of the month. And then the final one that came in at the last minute was to rescind the plastic bag ban, to see the...
One second, you said fire and...
I didn't, I'm sorry, I meant police and DPW.
Okay.
And then the health department came up at the end of the night, or the end of the day today, and they did ask to put this article in, and he did give me some reasons for it, but apparently the plastic bag ban is more harmful to the environment. So we'll have some more information on that.
Plastic bags are good now?
Don't say.
So,
Well, they still mess up the machines and the recycling.
Scott, can you just real quick go back, Article 1? What is the increase? What's that for?
Article 1, so when we did the last year's budget, we still had not had a building commissioner, so we were carrying a low number for the building commissioner. So there's two numbers in. There's one salaries, the $35,000, which funds the building commissioner, and it funds a part-time building inspector. And the $23,000 for expenses will cover the costs of the permit, I believe it's called Permit Eyes, Permit View software, which is our online permit tracking system.
Is this on top of their credit card they get?
This is not going on the
Okay.
credit card.
Just checking. And just to be clear and reading to the record, 92 parcels for conservation? That's what I just counted. I mean, that's what's listed, is that, I mean, are these kind of lumped together, or is there 92 parcels?
A lot of them are, they're separate parcels, but like Diane Circle, I don't know if you remember, there was a lot of like maybe half-acre parcels down there in Jeremiah Sullivan is actually part of that. So it was laid out, but the area was just too close to wetlands and not buildable.
Okay.
So they ended up as part of the town. But although they read as separate parcels, it's actually, they're all contiguous. Chestnut Street, that's 0. Chestnut, I think that's, if you recall, that's the one that's up under the high tension lines off of abutting 500 Chestnut.
Yeah.
The Oakland Road ones are mostly contiguous. One is on the opposite side of a paper road, but that abuts the Blueberry Hill Conservation Area.
Up on Dale Road.
Yep. And then the Rockland Street ones are also contiguous, and those are the ones that have that sort of wooded swamp when you come around the corner of Rockland Street. And that, again, if your brings us right over to that 0 Orchard Lane and right behind Town Hall.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
So, again, tonight, the idea is just to close this. We will bring this to the Finance Committee to vote on, and I think if this board wanted any more discussion on it, we certainly could bring in the IT department, building department, or anybody that you wanted to.
No, I would just like to, again, hit on that there's 92 lines here, whether that's parcels or not, there's 92 lines, almost 100 that are going up, that would potentially be going up to town meeting. I just want the residents to know that
I'll get you the acreage on it,
this is
too.
not something that people are overlooking. There's almost 100 parcels here,
Right.
regardless of size.
And this along with
9.1
Zero Orchard.
9.11 acres.
Yeah, I just really don't want, I feel like we get slighted a little bit here, and I just want to make sure that the residents know and can see this, because a lot of times I don't want to see it on Facebook later that someone's saying that we're not doing anything.
Right.
This is a huge.
We've actually been
movement
doing
for
a
the
lot
town.
of work behind the scenes to obtain land. I, and with Scott's permission, spoke to somebody else that has some land that we're trying to get for the town. I'm trying to get it donated, but I don't know if that'll happen, but anyway, we're actively looking to preserve land, and this board has been doing that. Unlike any board that I've seen before, we've done an awful lot of work behind the scenes to obtain some of these.
And
So,
I think also, I want to follow up with saying that this is just, I mean, there's a lot more work that needs to be done as well.
Right,
It's not just
absolutely.
this, that
Yeah.
people are going to say, oh, they're only doing this. It's, no, there's much more, so.
we're still working on other things.
One day at a time.
One day at a time, but here we are.
Yeah, and just to, quickly, just to kind of show you that area where Zero Rockland comes in to play, and then the Zero Orchard Lane is over in here. This whole area, we're going to be able to, once we have these other pieces and they're put into this plan, we're going to be able to actually do trails. We're going to be able to apply for grants. We're hoping to bring back the possible walking trail that'll tie in the town hall to this Orchard Lane, which also gives us the ability to have bike trails or walking trails that come in through some of these other roads that eventually can bring us this whole campus right into Ames Knoll. There'll be the ability to bring it from over down here where the other schools are, over at Beaverbrook, and we already have the bike trail here that, we can expand on that, and we'll be able to get grants for it once the Open Space and Rec Committee is able to update our plan. So we're expecting that to happen. We're expecting to hear very soon on whether or not we have a grant for their consultant that will help us push that over the edge. So all these little things are finally coming. Like you said, this board has been working hard to get this done, and it's finally coming through. This is one of the final pieces, so.
Or we could build a casino on that land.
Or, for the record,
Let's not talk about horse tracks and casinos.
Fire department.
No, that'd be great if this passed. I mean, you could
DPW.
take your bike from the high school to Ames Knoll.
Right,
in 10
exactly.
minutes.
Yeah, that's
And if
awesome.
we can get some trails over to Rockland Street,
Yeah.
Yep.
so
It's all
we're,
coming together.
again, the direction that the board gave me.
The town
we're just
does want a
following
town
through.
forest.
And yeah, we
It's
were
right there.
thinking we could do a
Yeah.
town forest.
Town forest with walking trails and everything else. I'm sure the Boy Scouts would jump in and try to help
Right.
out with
Well, that's
some
what
evil
we're
projects
gonna be
and-
looking into,
Girl
grants,
Scouts. Yeah.
once the open space plan is completed.
And hopefully
And-
Ames Knoll Committee or whatever,
Right.
a lot of the bikers over there could jump on over here and help us out as well.
Yeah.
I'm sure Dan Breelman would love to help out as well.
I think Dan was going to be a very big help in getting this approved.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're gonna need everyone at town meeting. So that brings us to next, oh, we have to vote to
Make
close
a
that, I'm
motion to
sorry.
close.
I thought we did that, I'm sorry.
The warrant for special town meeting.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Now, the next item is to discuss and possible vote to reduce the quorum. And some of the selectmen anyway, the theory is that we don't think we'll get 150 people to town meeting. And if we don't get 150 people to town meeting, everything we just went through on this warrant will have to be put off until April.
That's not true.
What?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It's exactly true.
No, we'd have to know on the next week.
Mr. Chairman, before we have any discussion about the quorum, I just want to remind us as the Board of Selectmen and the residents watching at home, that we voted, that we had a vigorous discussion 2 weeks ago about the quorum, whether we wanted to lower it from 150 to 75, and there were some other things too. We heard from the town manager, we heard from Scott, we heard from the town moderator, we heard from the town health agent who gave the green light for us to have the town meeting. And now here we are 2 weeks later, going to have another vote or potentially have another vote to rescind what we did 2 weeks ago. I think that's in my opinion, I think that's a bad precedent for us to set. And not only for that, I was looking through our procedures and things like that, and I just want the residents to know that as Board of Selectmen, we have guidelines and procedures that we're supposed to follow. And we approved, we updated our guidelines and procedures in June. And in Section 6 of the town government handbook, under duties, responsibilities, and obligations of board members, quote, "A member of the board, in relation of their responsibility to community, shall recognize that they are a member of a team and shall abide by all board decisions once they are made." That being said, us coming back 2 weeks later completely goes against what our handbook and our guidelines or duties and responsibilities and obligations are as Board of Selectmen members.
So let me stop you right there. I was asked to put this back on the agenda, but I think Scott has some breaking news.
Breaking news. Yeah, so I had conversations with town council this morning. We were reviewing the warrant, and I did have concerns with, there are statutory requirements on reducing the quorum. And as you recall, I had to advertise it 7 days in advance, so that prior to our last vote. And that doesn't carry over. The fact that, you know, I had advertised it, that we were going to talk about it, and we were going to vote it. We did, we met, we talked about it, and we voted it, and you voted it down. In order for you to actually, you can discuss it, it's on the agenda, and it's fine. But in order for you to actually vote it again, or to make another vote on it, we would have to have re-advertised it, or re-notice it. It's not so much an advertisement, but, so the earliest that you could actually vote this would be, you know, a week from now. So.
We're not meeting a week from now.
No, but if the board wanted to, it could be advertised and they could, we could meet next week to do that. But it's totally up to
We
the board.
could meet before town meeting and reduce the quorum right before town meeting, no?
Well, technically you could. I think it's,
I think if we,
I think that would be,
I think if we're
bad.
gonna
it
do
would look
it,
I
bad.
think it'd be bad either way.
Yeah, all right, so,
Yeah.
but yeah, technically you
My
could.
opinion hasn't changed, so.
Yeah.
all right, so,
But, Mr. Chairman, what is stopping us from keeping the 150?
nothing, nothing. That's why we're discussing it. If that's the pleasure of the board, then that's what it is.
Is there any discussion, or is there any interest to want to lower it in the future? And what I mean by future, I mean next week, as Scott was alluding to.
I don't care one way or the other. I personally don't think we'll get 150 people there. I'd be surprised. With all this conservation land, we may, but if not, then all these items just go on to April.
Plastic bag ban might help too.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think we look at doing it for, like, we discuss it for an April meeting at this
Yeah.
point.
All right,
If
and we leave
that's
it,
the case, you know.
we leave it at
It gives
150.
us some time, we'll see how this does.
Well, so according to our town charter, if we don't reach the 150 quorum, Scott, what are our options, what are your plans or options?
Well, it'll be discussions with the moderator.
I'm just
but
asking again.
If we do not meet the quorum, my recommendation will be is we just bring it up at the annual town meeting. And we will find a way to make it work. That's all.
So this would be all the stuff would just be pushed off till April.
It would be put off to a special prior to the annual town meeting.
Yeah, a special, okay.
Yep.
So all the conservation land would be pushed off, no movement.
No movement.
Contracts for the
We
town
won't be able to
employees.
purchase the 0 Orchard Lane until, that's going to require a town meeting vote.
What would happen about the collective bargaining agreements?
They'll wait.
We will. Is it going to be a?
They are retroactive either way. It would be better for us and easier for us to true them up now.
So it would
but
just be in theory, a larger retro payment in the spring if
Right.
approved?
Yeah.
Okay.
It would be the same amount of money, it would just be
Yeah,
referred
just
to the...
add 6 months onto it there.
And the other thing,
If approved.
purchasing 0 Orchard Lane would have to wait.
As to try to get the 150 for the quorum, what are we doing right, or what have we done since we opened the warrant 2 weeks ago to really get the message out to have the special town meeting?
What we'll do now is we'll put this on, now that you've closed the warrant, it'll be up on the website. We will
Town boards?
probably, we'll put it on, we'll put it out onto Facebook. We're certainly going to push some of the articles, the fact that we're, the conservation articles, we're going to push the, let everybody know about the plastic bag ban. We will probably do some code red, because we love using code red.
Great system.
So I think that, people will get some information that way, but there's not really a lot more we can do to get the message out other than that.
Just for the future, when we open the warrant, I think it would have been best, I know, because some of us had talked about it, that, we're going to promote the special town meeting, and since 2 weeks ago, from 2 weeks ago, nothing has gone out on the town website, email, code red, or even on Abington Cam. And Kevin Tachi and the AbCam, they're great. All we have to do is
I think I just did something with Kevin and with the town moderator, and we did talk about it.
For the special town meeting?
We mentioned that the special, we didn't go over, we didn't have articles to talk about yet. But, yeah, it will go out, and like we did, normally we would handle it like we did our town meeting last year, and we would push it. It's a short timeline.
I've heard from a lot of residents that they just didn't know that this was happening, and I think it would have been better if we were proactive.
You can't really advertise something until it's officially gonna happen.
But we voted to have the town meeting on September 27th, even though we don't know, it's not hard and facts that we know what's going to be in the warrant. I think it would be good just to get the message out, because people are concerned that we're not going to get the 150. Well, let's be proactive than reactive.
I think this is a good time now. We're going to 2 weeks into the special town meeting to get the message.
But I agree with that, but we lost 2 weeks, though.
But people that heard it a month out, most of them are going to forget about it or not. You know what I mean? I agree with you, Alex. It's just, I think it needs to be fresh in people's minds. We need to really make an effort from now moving forward, these next 2 weeks, to make sure.
No, and I agree, whatever we're doing for the annual, we should start letting people know what that schedule is now, as opposed to...
We could do a code red, obviously, the day before or the day of.
We'll do a code red probably next week, just to say, and I think we'll do a code red just email, not a phone call, tomorrow.
But what about even
That'll
the
send
day
out-
of?
Yeah, no, I would...
Yeah, and the day
What
of.
about the day of?
No, tomorrow I'd like to see something go out in all the communications that we have.
So.
Sure.
Doesn't hurt, but I think it'll fall on deaf ears that far out. I think you'll get more bang for your buck doing it in the final week. Not that it's a bad thing, it won't hurt.
No, I think the more we can get the information
Yeah,
out, the
definitely.
better.
I will be out of the state, so I will not be there.
You don't want to overuse code red either, because then you start losing subscriptions to it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think,
They're like, wait, you're gonna call me?
I don't think I have to necessarily use the call
Yes.
part of it,
Yeah.
or the text part of it, but I would use the
Don't
email
need to do it
part.
all at the same time, it scares the crap out of me.
Plenty
when
of-
someone starts doing that.
You use it plenty now,
Well, at least we'll get an email out tomorrow.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And we'll get it on the town Facebook, and if all of us, we all have
And
pages.
the website.
And
That's
the website.
This is the 15th message of the day from the town of Abington.
Okay. Moving on.
I'm only repeating what I'm hearing from residents, so.
All right.
Which
Thank
one?
you. Yeah.
I want to know.
Review of the Collins Center capital.
I'll remember
plan.
that.
Scott?
All right, well, it's up on the screen.
I can't see that.
Yeah, well, it gets better, trust me. So we've been working for quite some time with the Collins Center on this. This really just needs a few more tweaks, things that we've kind of realized as we've gotten the plan, things that should be on here. It's sort of a very comprehensive plan, so it's also the, what is it that we're missing that we want to take one final look at? And some of that stuff has really kind of shown up over the summer, where we realized that our AC units here at Town Hall are 20-something years old, and apparently a couple of them need to be replaced. And the same thing at the senior center, that, it's not a matter of just charging them anymore, they've actually got to be replaced. And so there are certain things like that that we've had to add to this, or we will be adding to this plan. And another thing to note, where you see what the projected costs of this plan, it runs up to 2032, where you see this red. There are assumptions at the Collins Center, which is a group at UMass Boston that is, government, part of their governmental studies group there. They have a theory, in a way, that they propose that your capital is part of your operating budget, so a certain percentage of your operating budget should go to capital. What typically this town does, and many towns do, is we use a lot of our free cash. So when we're predicting our revenues, we're trying to be ultra conservative on predicting the revenues, just in case something bad, if there's a bad turn in the economy, that we're going to be safe. But sometimes that'll leave you with what turns into the free cash when those revenues come in higher than you predicted. And that's kind of a plan, a way of doing it, mixed with budget money and mixed with some borrowing. So these red numbers shouldn't bother you, because the way that we're doing it, we are fairly confident that we're going to be able to fund these projects. Now, just to give you an idea, I mean, they have all sorts of tabs and charts and stuff in here. Couple of the biggest ones are, this is really the meat and potatoes of it. This is sort of all of the projects. They start off with, here's, actually, they started this project in fiscal year '23, so some of this is stuff that we've actually did, or some of the, we're in the process of doing, things that we funded at last year's town meeting. Here are the things that'll be going into next year's town meeting. And even some of this stuff we've needed to sort of take another review at. Is it, we want to know, is this something that we can do with maybe the ARPA money or other grant money? Does it necessarily have to be part of the capital plan? Is it something that we can do prior to town meeting and just take care of it now? And so when the Collins Center met with myself and the department heads, and they said, okay, so what are your capital needs? What are your long-term needs? They had a lot of different conversations. And then those needs and those projects were prioritized. And you can see in this tab here is where that priority is. And then it comes to the funding tabs. And each year, some stuff you see is carried over, obviously, like cruiser replacement. You'll see that show up every year. There's certain software things that show up every year. But again, it's a very comprehensive list. We're sort of going through the final pieces of it now. They do break it out on some things that these would be projects that you would probably just borrow for on this tab. The tabs also include what our existing debt schedule is, and it allows us to look at it and see where where our debt's gonna be reduced and our borrowing capacity is gonna be increased. We did include in here, there's also sewer fund, and if you keep going over, the golf is in here, even though their projects come out of their retained earnings. But I just wanted to kind of give you the overview. We've been talking about it a lot, but it's a very comprehensive. It was a good plan. It was a good exercise for all the department heads to go through it. The plan that was being used was not nearly this comprehensive. But this will give this group in the Finance Committee a better handle on making decisions on, what we want to fund, when we want to fund it, what's coming up in future years. There are, like I said, some of the things that we had talked about that we just have to tweak is, the fire department really needs to lock in on some engines in the future and some ambulances. Because they're, nothing lasts as long as you want it to, but they've done a great job. If you remember 2 years ago, the fire department had borrowed, or we had appropriated money to refurbish all the engines, and they all came out amazing, but they're not getting younger. We managed to get more life out of them, but they are going to have to be replaced. So we want to make sure that we're plugging those numbers in here too, in the FY '26s and the FY '28 years, and then even the out years, so that anybody can look at this at any given point in time and get a snapshot of saying, all right, we do have some big expenses coming up. What it doesn't necessarily have in here is outside our levy projects. Those, I think, there's probably a tab in here somewhere, but obviously, this is stuff that we're doing within the levy, so anything that we're borrowing or paying for is coming out within the levy, as opposed to, like, when we do the fire station will be, outside of the levy. So that was it. Again, there's a little bit more to it. We're putting the final tweaks on it. I think that we'll do a presentation, maybe we can get a joint presentation for this committee and the finance committee. This will end up being a document that, obviously a read-only document that will be on our website for anybody to take a look at. I think I would like to see us, probably review the makeup of the capital improvement committee. Because we still, once this plan is done, we still want sort of a committee that is going to be the keeper of this plan, that, when things do come up that we're not expecting, as they will, and that we have to plug them in somewhere, we still have someone to work with me and this board and the finance committee to say, yeah, no, we're highly recommending that we put something off or reprioritize something because something important came up, so. So that's it. Certainly, the FY '24 section of this will be done and ready in time for town meeting, but I expect the rest of it, I really expect the whole thing to be done, sometime ready for presentation next month.
All right, thank you, Scott. Any questions on that?
No questions.
Town managers report?
Okay, so currently, much of our time and efforts have been going into the warrant articles for the special town meeting, be held on the 27th. As I just reviewed, we're going to have 9 articles. Most of them are housekeeping, but it is important, and it'd be great if we can get everyone out to vote in, especially for the Conservation Commission and the conservation properties. The capital improvement plan, again, like I just said, we need to do some more last-minute additions and tweaks, but we expect this plan to be done by the end of next month and ready for review. Town clerk and I, we had an after-action meeting with the stakeholders regarding the Election Day events. We wanted to discuss, there was a lot of positive results from the day, a lot of hard work, and we want to thank the staff and the volunteers and everybody that put time and effort into it. But that being said, we did find some areas that need some addressing. Our signage plan, our lighting plan, our accessibility plan all need some tweaking and need some upgrading. So, we expect that it's going to be a much better experience in November. Not only are we going to make those adjustments on the parking, where we're going to have volunteers and signage and lighting, but we also have the ability to use the gymnasium, the other gymnasium, sort of when you first walk in, you're going to walk right into the gymnasium, as opposed to having to go all the way around the back.
Yeah.
So we'll have that front area that we can get into. It will be much better for accessible parking. I think in the future, our November election is in the September local elections and future elections, other than anything scheduled if they're, the next primary is in 2 years. But otherwise, they're typically going to be on days when we do have access to that other gym. So I think it will work a lot better. It was probably the worst-case scenario where it was the first day of kindergarten. Everybody was dropping their children off. It was pouring rain out.
Taking pictures.
And our,
Do we get a commitment to close school down when we're having elections?
Why was school open that day?
Most towns did not for obvious reasons.
I don't know why, well, by the time, I'm not sure when notice was given, but they just did not have enough notice
I mean, we
for
knew
the
about-
first day of kindergarten. There's a lot of things that are involved.
Did
I
the-
think in the future, and I've had these discussions, I think if we gave them plenty of notice, and we certainly are able to do that, they will make it a professional development day. Like on the November election, it is a professional development day.
But I mean, the state primary, it's not like it was a secret when the state primary was. I mean, that's.
I know that
I mean,
was
how
one-
long ago did we put that date out? But not we, I mean, the state did. Every other town seems to get it together.
Well, I don't think
mean,
not every town
this-
uses the schools either.
Yeah, I mean, we've bounced around plenty now,
Yeah.
as we all know. But, I mean, this one, I like the parking, the tennis courts is a great addition there, that helped out tremendously, but walking around the back of the school, those puddles everywhere, I mean, you could barely walk through, it was such a cluster.
Yeah.
Having that front door open, which if that's what it is, the school is the issue, then, I think that the town departments need to talk a little bit more and get on the same page, because, everyone else knows when the primary was.
I know that was one thing that I was hearing from parents, was that the Friday before was a professional development day, and a lot of the parents were just wondering, why couldn't it have been, but then again, that's not us. If it could have been on that Tuesday then.
No, in the conversations I've had with the school department, they would be more than willing to, given notice, I think they are more than willing to help and make these things work,
And
so.
I think the town clerk and all the electioneers, everyone that helped out that day did a tremendous job for what they had. So I don't want to take nothing away from them. They did everything they should have. And Leanne puts her heart and soul into this, so I think it's just, a little more help on, to her and some guidance, it would run a lot smoother, via that front door and not having to walk around a school or where there's no
Well, not
handicap
even the front
accessible
door,
ramp.
but if that ramp going
Oh,
into
yeah.
the
But
gym.
even that's
Oh,
like
I
a
can't
labyrinth
tell
going
you
through there.
how many people
But we
walked up
won't have
that
to use
ramp.
that one because we're using the other gym, so there
Yeah.
But
is
just-
an entrance right into that.
Yeah, using that
Right,
front
yeah.
gym, you walk in the front right there and you come out.
Yeah.
It's
I
cut and dry.
expected it'd be, I think you'll see it 100% better for November, and I think that that's pretty much what you'll see.
I really hope so,
And
because,
the other issue is we ordered the construction signs, the LED signs for the highway department. They were supposed to be in. Because of the chip shortage, we're not getting them. So I think if we had had those, that would have helped. We were planning on putting one up by the Legion and then one down closer, would have directed people to go further past the tennis courts and then turn left to go in there. Some people were turning in the out exit, to go in. And there were just, the highway department, Leanne, and, Scott, and even Peter Schaefer in the school, everyone worked to do the best we could with this one, but there were definitely some issues. And,
No, and everybody recognized that. I mean,
Yeah,
we
right.
definitely could do better and will.
yeah, I think that's the biggest thing here. The biggest takeaway is this is not the first election here. This is the second. We should have worked out the kinks on the first one and not had them on the second. Now we
Well,
have a
because
whole
we ended up
new set of kinks
changing-
on the second one because,
changing the entrance and everything because of the kindergarten starting, but, I agree. In the future, we ideally would not have school.
Yeah.
But the next one is going to be November, there is no school. Then the one after that is April.
That's a
Saturday,
Saturday.
there is no school. We don't have anything in 19, in 23.
You're going real back.
I'm not doing 2020 again.
But the
But we
wrong
don't
meeting, if that's
we
the
don't have
case.
an election in the fall in the odd years,
Yeah.
like the city of Brockton and Quincy and stuff. And then the following year, we'll be right back to this, but hopefully by then, we're gonna
Agreed,
have
I just,
3 elections.
I feel like sometimes it's just out of sight, out of mind, and here we're gonna be in 3 years, we're gonna be
Right,
talking about all
yeah.
the same
No,
problems
so I
and we deal
definitely
with it
think,
now.
We
Yeah.
need to iron it out between now and April.
definitely.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, so we are going to continue to work on that. Still working on collective bargaining with police and fire. I have a posted job vacancy for the part-time position for recording secretary for the finance committee. It's been posted for a while. If you know anybody interested or anybody's out there, please check our website. It is kind of a seasonal thing, and it's mostly October through the end of January, one night a week, a few hours. It's a great group. There are a lot of laughs. We have a good time. Not as much fun as you guys, but so hopefully, if someone's out there, then reach on out.
Before.
Contract has been awarded to Water and Wetland LLC for the Island Grove Pond Management. Task 1 will begin shortly, and they have to start with DEP filing and permitting. Much of the work, the actual work, will take place come spring. Quotes were due today for the grant writing services for the Memorial Bridge Repair Project. Unfortunately, despite me finding, I don't know, 4 or 5 grant writing services, none of them seemed interested. So I'm going to reach out to them and see exactly what, why they didn't respond or what we could do different. But we'll have to find a way to move on without them. The Health Department is offering seasonal flu shots and COVID boosters for both adults and pediatrics. Anyone wishing to schedule a flu shot or booster can do so online through the Health Department website or call the Health Department directly at 781-982-2119. And finally, I would also like to thank Dick Hanna and all the volunteers and all the staff that were involved in the summer movie nights. When we came up with that, when it started off as just sort of the food trucks, that was great. Everybody loved it, and Dick Hanna and that group they got right involved. Nobody even, it was just an idea, and they took it right over, and they made it, when the food trucks kind of said, look, we can't do it as much, he made it work. He found another way to make it work, and it's a huge asset to the community. And that whole Griffin's Dairy Committee in general is just amazing, because that is a huge amenity for the town, and looking forward to find a way to connect that all the way over to Ames Knoll someday would be really, really great. But thanks Dick, thanks everybody. That's all I got.
Scott, anything else?
Scott, I had one question. Are there any updates on the PFAS levels for the water, our water?
I don't have updates on the levels. I do know that conversations with the water superintendent, they are working hard. As you recall, we did allocate a lot of money at town meeting. We received grant money, we went forward. We funded the engineering with grant money. And I know that they're working on that. One of the biggest obstacles is actually getting the vessels, the filter vessels, because everybody needs them. I don't think the drought is helping the situation and the low levels in the pond, but they are working. And actually, I think we are going to do something in our next newsletter to just give everybody a better idea of what's going on and where we're going.
Okay. Yeah, no, and I was just asking. I know the Abington-Rockland Joint Waterworks are working diligently to help our water. Everybody's in the same situation, all the other communities and stuff like that, but we're very lucky to have a awesome joint waterworks.
Yeah, and again, we've been talking, we're looking at other grant money just to, help us find other solutions to any water woes that we have, whether it's supply or conservation issues. I think we have to look into also, but they are working on it.
All right, cool.
Is there anything
Motion to
else?
adjourn.
Guess that answered your question.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Ayes have it.
4-1.